And the first thing I want to talk about is Anna Jay. She is hitting free agency soon. I don't think that AEW is going to re-sign her, and I think that's a mistake by AEW because I do think that she's somebody that's probably going to go somewhere else and be a bigger star. AEW is pretty top heavy, and they're especially in that division, right? They got Statlander, who is their girl, and they've been pushing her for a long time, and then they finally broke her through to the world title. I don't think that she's as over as they want her to be, but she's established. Of course, you got Tony Storm, you got Mercedes Moné. They're trying to make Athena a thing. I don't know that that's ever going to work. I got nothing against Athena. They've just kept the Ring of Honor title on her for like 2 years now. Yeah, I could take or leave Athena. Anna Jay is like, you would think that she's green, but she's been around for like 4 or 5 years, so you think that she'd be pretty good by now, but she just hasn't grown in that system. And they moved her to the tag team division, and that kind of ran its course. And all signs are pointing towards her leaving AEW, and she is probably going to head to WWE. Although Dave Meltzer reported a couple weeks ago that WWE has been telling people that they're full, but I think they would probably take someone like Anna Jay. If you just take one look at her and the fact that she's coming from AEW, she's somebody that they're going to give a shot to. But this is a TNA podcast. Do I think TNA is going to sign her? No. Should they sign her? Absolutely. I would sign her in a heartbeat. I would make her the focal point of that Knockouts division. You got Danny Luna. I would put the belt on Danny Luna right away. Lei Yingli's nice. Danny Luna's your champion, and she's the heel champion. And I think the division runs through her as far as like all the challengers. But top babyface, I would get rid of Indy Hartwell, and I would put Anna Jay in that top babyface role for sure. She's better than Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell's more over just because she came from WWE. I just don't see anything in her. I think she's taking up a roster spot. She doesn't appear to be someone that's selling a ton of tickets. She doesn't appear to be someone that's selling a ton of merch. She's just kind of there. And she gets pops because the NXT fans remember her from when she was a comedy figure on the show. Now, if they want to keep her around and make her do a comedy act, I guess that would be fine. But having her as your top babyface in the division, I think, is a giant mistake because she just doesn't have it. She really doesn't. Anna Jay, I don't know that she has it either, but they got to take a chance. And they took a chance on Indy, and it has not worked out. I don't think Indy is signed long term. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if her deal wasn't up by now. I would move on from her unless you want to just keep her around as a comedy figure. And I would bring in Anna Jay for sure. Clip that. I would bring in Anna Jay for sure, and make her the focal point of that Knockouts division. As far as on the babyface side, you got Danny Luna heel, Anna Jay babyface. They can flip the title back and forth, however they want to do it. But this would be TNA's opportunity to establish a young female. You're signing them from AEW. You beat WWE to the punch, knowing that WWE is probably going to take her eventually if she gets to be pretty good. But if it is true, the WWE is saying that they're full and they might not be interested in Anna Jay, that's a person that TNA should absolutely take a flyer on. I don't think it's take a flyer. I think she's a good talent. She is, and for the level that TNA is at, like that's a good star for them. That would be a good get for them. Next up in free agency news is David Finlay, Fit Finlay's son, former TNA Tag Team Champion David Finlay, is hitting free agency. If you've heard this before, it's because its story comes out every year at this time. Right around January 1st, right around January 4th, actually, but it's usually within a couple of weeks, give or take, we find out that David Finlay's contract is coming due and that he's interested in a move to the States. I think we've heard it for 4 years in a row. Chris Amza even, I think, posted it in one of the Discords that I'm on, and he screenshotted the stories that have come out every year. But there's been some chatter the last couple of days that this actually might be the year that he makes the move. Where would he go? Well, his dad works for NXT, but WWE has passed on him before. And I don't know that he is the type of star that they would be looking for. David Finley's good. He's pretty good. Now, I will admit, I have not been watching his run this year, but I did see some people talk about his run this year might have been his best run so far in New Japan. But what I had seen years previous is I saw a guy with some talent who is not a top star, who is a pretty good wrestler, a solid wrestler that could be a good mid card, upper mid card in most companies. Probably not a top guy. If TNA did bring him in, I don't think they would see him as a top guy. Could be wrong. Tommy Dreamer obviously has an affinity for Fit Finley. I could see him maybe wanting to bring in David Finley. It would be a big deal to me if they brought him in, and I would want them to push him up as maybe a challenger for Mike Santana. Should Mike Santana finally get the belt back and kind of go on a long babyface run? I don't know that that's ever going to happen, but we'll see. But I would see him more in that international title range for TNA, and that's a good spot to be for a guy like for David Finley. NXT did sign David's brother Brogan Finley, and they changed his name, and they did the same thing to Regal's kid. They brought him in to change his name, and he's going nowhere. In fact, he's probably some of his best stuff has been overseas and in TNA than he's had in NXT. So I don't know that WWE would be the spot for him. I don't think that TNA would actually make a play for him because he was never a WWE star, and he was never a AEW star. And if they're going to bring somebody in that they would have to turn into a star, they're probably going to bring them in at a lower level. And I think David Finley sees himself making more money than what TNA would probably offer. That's just my read on the situation. I don't know that for a fact. But again, just spitballing here. I just see the way TNA operates, and especially since if Scott D'Amore were in charge, I think that he would make a play for Finley for sure. But Scott D'Amore is no longer in the company. Since he's left, they've gotten rid of guys that are like really good wrestlers who aren't big stars. They got rid of Josh Speedball, although Speedball probably wouldn't have left. I think Josh would have stayed. TNA made him an offer for sure. In fact, I know for a fact he would have. They lost Speedball. I think Speedball was going. They purposely got rid of Kushida. They got rid of Trent Seven. And they got rid of several other guys because I don't think that they thought that they were worth the money that they were making because they weren't big stars in the U.S.